watermelon, watermelon. That candle is watermelon lemonade. It's watermelon. Welcome to the hot mess. What is up, you guys? It's Chase, and welcome back to my channel. I'm like looking like diagonal. I need to this way, this way. I never look straight at the camera. I feel weird doing that. But hi, hello, welcome. If you are new here, let's introduce ourselves. I will start. My name is Chase. Hi. I don't know how you found this video or my channel, but I'm very happy you did. I would love to ask you to subscribe to the channel. We hit 40 subscribers, which we just hit 30. We just hit 30 and now we're at 40. So let's get to 50, 45, small goals. Hi, welcome to Hot Mess. Subscribe and join the Hot Mess Express. This train doesn't stop, it goes full steam ahead. Also, sorry if you guys are a little crooked. I feel like you're tilted a little bit. The video is tilted. There's nothing I can do about that. I have a new setup right now, and I tried to fix it and get it as straight as possible, and I just couldn't. So, you're crooked. Sorry. So today, we are talking about the Mansfield Fire Museum. But before we get into that, I have a few thank yous that I need to address before I jump right into this. The first one has to go to one of my dearest friends, Jasmine Pagani, who was in the infamous Look What You Made Me Do cover video, which you can find on my channel, for getting me a ring light. Yes, the bitch bought me a ring light for my birthday. So that's the... Oh, it's getting really dark. I don't like this. I don't like this. That's what I'm using right now. I have an actual ring light now. So thank you so much, Jasmine, for getting me this for my birthday. I really appreciate it. And hopefully that makes the quality of the videos go up. The lighting looks a lot better now, especially because it's all of a sudden got blackout. The second thank you has to go to Emily, who works at Destination Mansfield, because she has been a big help for the Mansfield Women's Club video and now this one. She got me in contact with someone at the Mansfield Fire Museum, and I was able to talk to them and interview them and take a tour of the place. And so a big thank you goes out to her. She's not watching this video, but thanks anyway, girl. Last thank you goes to Bobby, who is the head at the Mansfield Fire Museum, for going on a tour with me on Sunday and showing me around the place, talking about the paranormal and the history. I really appreciate it, so thank you so much. And I had to mention that before we get into this video. So last week, what did we talk about? We talked about the Mansfield Women's Club. We talked about the history of that place, the previous owners, and then of course we went into the hauntings there, and we talked about the strange mist that were seen all over the building when it was open and functioning. If you want to watch that video, I will leave it linked down below for you guys so you can go check that out, and hopefully you like it. I'm also going to make a playlist of all of the Spooky Saturday videos so far. So if you want to go catch up from the beginning, or you just want to rewatch them, you'll have a playlist of every Spooky Saturday, and then you can just binge. This is the first video since the Malabar Farm one that I'm filming home alone, and I'm very scared. That has not changed. I still get uber scared when filming these videos and there's not someone in the house with me. So if I seem kind of distracted, or if I'm rushing a lot, it's because I'm scared. Like I said already in this video, today we are talking about the Mansfield Fire Museum, which is, can you guess, a fire museum here in Mansfield, Ohio. I had actually never been to the museum before doing research for this video. I have always seen it and I've always heard about it. I have grown up in Mansfield. I've spent my whole life here. So I've always been familiar with it, but I never knew the history of it. I had never been into the fire museum. The most I knew was that they did bingo on, I think it's Friday and Saturday nights, and that it was haunted. And I knew that because of Haunted Mansfield. So the Mansfield Fire Museum began as just an idea in 1986, and I tried to do research and I tried to find who came up with the idea for the Mansfield Fire Museum, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I just found that it was first thought of, and they were like, oh, that would be a good idea for a museum back in 1987. I'm not sure if it was Bobby. It might have been, honestly. He's been there for a long time, and he kind of runs the show now. but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to say that it was him. And the building that it is at currently used to be a Five Cousins department store, which was a really popular department store back in 1960s, 70s, that era. So the person or the people who first had the idea for the Mansfield Fire Museum ended up buying the Five Cousins department store, the building it was in 1989, and they started work on the museum. And it took them 2 years to do basic repairs. And once that was complete, they were able to start work on the actual museum. I'm interrupting this story while I blend this eyeshadow to ask you guys, did you hear that voice in my video? I'm gonna get freaked out talking about it, so excuse me. But if you haven't watched my last video, again, another plug, it's called The Strange Mist of the Mansfield Women's Club. And I'm talking about the mist, and I'm talking about, you know, how people have seen it, different people, or whatever. And in the video, you can hear what sounds like a woman ask the question white. And it scares me. I'm like actually scared right now talking about it. It just like, it kind of disturbs me. And now I'm home alone, and I feel like I'm gonna keep hearing things when there is nothing, but it's gonna scare me. So construction on the museum was slow at first, and they had quite a few setbacks. And again, I tried to look into the setbacks that they had and things they experienced, but I couldn't find anything. There's not a whole lot of history on the museum. And part of me thinks that that's because it is a museum, and most of the time, museums as a building don't have a lot of history, but it's the artifacts in the building itself that has a lot of history, which is why after I'm done kind of telling you this, I'm going to go into the artifacts and things you'll just see there, you know? It took them a while to get started and start getting things into the museum, but they eventually were able to get stuff into the museum, and the museum opened October 12th of 1994. Now, the museum was not completely done with construction when they opened, and they say on their website, which I will link down below, that they quickly realized they're never going to be done. They're always going to be adding artifacts to the museum. They're always going to find something to fix, to repair, or they're going to restore old artifacts and make them new again. There's always going to be something that they can do and will do. So the museum will never really be done. And they are still adding things. When I went on this tour, they had just got a new fire truck, and it was a fire truck in LA for a while, and he told me how they got there. I can't recall right now. And they're also doing a lot of refurbishments on things, and they have a bunch of stuff in the back room that they're kind of fixing up. They're going to add to the museum. They have a whole lot of stuff, and it's really interesting to go and look. And I'm really not even that big into fire or firemen or fire trucks or anything like that. Can I just say, if you have not heard Echo Smith's new album, it's called Lonely Generation, then what are you doing with your life? They released it this year, they released it in January, and it is a bop. I love that album. I'm listening to it right now in between like takes while I'm like blending and stuff. It is amazing. I've been listening to it since January, and I'm still in love. So go stream Lonely Generation by Echo Smith now. So in the Fire Museum, you'll find a bunch of different fire trucks dating all the way back to like 1916 and longer. They have a fire truck there that the people had to pull themselves because they didn't have horse equipment yet for horses to draw it. They of course have fire trucks that the horses had to pull. They have newer fire trucks as well. Something that I thought was really cool that they have there is different helmets that firefighters wear from around the world. They have them in Europe, I have some from Africa, they have some just like everywhere. It is so cool, and a few of them actually glow in the dark, which I thought was really interesting. And he said that way at night when you're fighting fire, they can see you from your helmet. But once you get into a fire, he said that it doesn't really matter because you can't see anything anyway. So it doesn't really matter then if your helmet glows in the dark, because you're not going to be able to see. So now my favorite part of the Fire Museum, they have a replica of downtown Mansfield. I think it's North Main Street, but back when I want to say like the 50s. It's like historic downtown Mansfield, and it is so cool. They have Coney Island. They have like a replica drugstore there. It is so cool to just walk down there and see. And they also have actual pews from the Ohio State Reformatory that are in this little room they kind of made as a replica of like the church, but it's really small. And they also have a real Now, come close. If you're not listening now, come close. Come here. They have a real coffin that was used from the Ohio State Reformatory, okay? I'm telling you. I'm telling you. No wonder this place is haunted. I'm going to step off camera real quick. I'm going to throw on my Essence mascara, and I will be right back. Okay, mascara is on, and you can't even tell, but I can, and that's what matters. So what's really cool about touring with Bobby is that he had a lot of history on not only the fire trucks and the equipment that was in there and the fire department in general, but he had a lot of history on Mansfield also. And he told me a really interesting thing, that he was in Shawshank. Now this is the third place in Mansfield that someone has had connection. Malabar had a connection with Shawshank because they filmed there. The Bisman building had a connection with Shawshank because they filmed there. And the Bisman family was also in Shawshank. And now Bobby, I guess a bunch of firefighters were actually in the movie as like extras. And he was one of them. He was on the bus with Morgan Freeman when he's going to jail. He was in a few scenes, I guess, which I just thought was really interesting. And it was just really cool to go tour with him because he had so much information on this place and on the fire department. And he told so many stories, not even fire related or anything like that, but just it was really interesting to go on this tour with him. So if you're interested in going to the Mansfield Fire Museum, their normal hours are mid-May to mid-October, 1 to 4. They are open, I believe, weekdays. I think it's 1 to 4 Saturdays and Sundays, I believe, is the normal hours. But because of Miss Rona, they are currently only doing tours by appointment. So you have to call the phone number or you can email them. I have Bobby's email and phone number, so I will leave that in the description box down below if you want to get in contact with him and you want to go explore and just hear all the cool history about the Mansfield Fire Department and some really cool facts and hear some really cool stories. So now that the history portion is over, I'm sorry it wasn't super long, but what do you want me to do, okay? I did my best. Let's get into what you all are here for, the ghost. So now, I won't lie, going into the fire museum, I didn't have super high hopes. I heard of one paranormal encounter that happened there, and that was really it. I didn't hear of anything else really going on there. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot going into this tour. And when I got there, it was kind of like a normal tour. He just talked about the history of the artifacts that were in there. He showed me a bunch of different artifacts. And then we started talking about the paranormal. And let me tell you, this place is active. There's a lot of activity here. And I was surprised to find that out. I was really shocked. So some of the most common things that happen at the Mansfield Fire Museum, you will hear noises when you're the only person in the building. People have also seen orbs on the security cameras when they're in the office. And something that I had never heard of before, people have seen orbs like in person. They'll be on tour and they'll just see an orb, which I've never heard of. Flickering lights are reported throughout the building, as well as seeing shadow figures all throughout the museum. And these shadow people have been seen on security cameras, and they have also been seen in person by workers and visitors alike. I was curious about the bingo hall because, like I said previously, they do bingo at the Fire Museum, and that's kind of how they make their money. And people who want to come in and ghost hunt are free to do so. They do take donations, so that's not how they get their money. They get their money through bingo. And I was kind of curious if anyone had ever experienced anything in the bingo hall while they were there, not touring the museum and not looking for ghosts, just kind of there. So Bobby took me to the bingo hall, and he said not a lot of stuff happens here, but there have been a few things. The one thing that really freaked me out, he took me into the office, and that's where they kind of sit during bingo while they're not out there. And there were 5 people in this room just sitting around talking, and there's this like little bookcase thingy that they have in the room. And there was something on it, and I'm not sure what it was. He showed me what it was, but I don't know. So just for the story, I'm going to say it was one of those little plastic pencil sharpeners. And they're just sitting there talking, and this little red pencil sharpener flies off the shelf and misses someone's head by like this much. That, I said, oh. And like while we're in the room, he tells me this, and he's just like, it doesn't faze him. And he said that it doesn't faze him because he's with these spirits and entities every day, so they really don't freak him out. But for me, I was like, oh no, ma'am. It threw something at him. Something else that they experienced in the bingo hall was during an investigation. They were in the bingo hall, and there's the first floor, and there's this little like balcony area that is on the second floor, which I never visited while I was there. And they were in there during an investigation doing EVPs and stuff. And all of a sudden, all of them start hearing footsteps on that balcony. And then he said it sounded like someone was dragging a heavy bag of trash across the floor. So you hear a footstep, a drag, footstep, drag. I would have ran out of there so fast, and instead they ran up to where it was, and there was no one up there, and they were the only people in the building that night. That was it. I would have freaked out. And this is why I don't know if I could go investigate there, because I would want to leave. I'd be scared. And that has actually happened a lot. Bobby told me that he was in his office one day, and he was alone, and he started hearing footsteps upstairs, and it was just 3 footsteps right above him, and he didn't know where they came from because he was in there alone. And at first he thought, well, maybe someone like came in, but then he realized the only way up to the second floor, he would have heard it. There would have been a noise or a sound of someone opening the door. He would have heard them come in, and he didn't hear anyone come into the building at that time. He also heard the same thing a different night. He was in his office, he was the only one in the building, and he started hearing footsteps like someone was pacing back and forth upstairs, but he knew that no one else was there. But he could hear someone walking this side, then this side, and it just kept happening, and then all of a sudden, it stopped. And there was no one in the building. He went and looked, there was no one, it was just him. Bobby also told me of another story that happened in his office/banquet hall area. He was there alone with his dog, and now his dog has since sadly passed away. But they were there, and she was just kind of wandering around the area. And let me set this up for you. So there's his office, and this little entranceway that then leads into the bingo hall, and then there's another set of offices. So his dog was in that little entranceway just walking around when all of a sudden she stopped and started growling at the doorway to the banquet hall. And he didn't really know what was going on. He just kind of stayed in his office and just let her do whatever. But then she started barking, and so he was like, stop barking, what are you doing, like, calm down, whatever. And he said that he didn't really get up and get her until all of a sudden she started lunging and biting at the air. And so he ran up and he got her, and when he did, she stopped. And he said, there was no one in the building. I went, I looked, there was no one there, and that was it. She didn't act like that again. Once he got to her and he got to her side, she stopped doing that. So he thinks, and I think, that he scared whatever was messing with her away. Like, he also told me he would take her there sometimes when he had to work, and he would like open up the place. And some days she would come in, she would follow him around no problem and whatever. The other day she would walk in, and you walk in, they have a little gift shop area right away. And he said that she would get to about there, and then she'd just stand. And she wouldn't go any farther. Even if he tried to like pull her, she would not budge. And she would just stay there until he came back. And that is all the experiences that have really happened in the bingo hall. He said for the most part, nothing really happens there. So let's move on to the most haunted part, the actual fire museum. So like I mentioned, there is a very well-known story that has happened at the fire museum. And that is the only one that I was familiar with going into it. So Bobby told me that he was taking kids on a tour, because they do field trips for kids for school. And this kid kept saying, I know you, like, I know you. And he was like, what the hell do you mean I know you? And it turns out that Bobby and this kid's grandpa worked together. And the fire museum actually has the truck that they drove together while they were working together. So the kid said, can I get a picture of me on it? And Bobby told him yes, that once they were done with the field trip and the kids were eating lunch and everything, him and the teacher could come over and they could get a picture of him sitting on the fire truck. So they did just that, and as he's sitting on the fire truck, the side mirror moves and points right at the kid. And the kid sees it and starts freaking out, and Bobby also saw it, but he didn't really say anything until the teacher was like, yeah, okay, sure. And Bobby was like, well, man, let me tell you, I saw it too. And she's like, well, it's only moving because he's jumping around and stuff. And so Bobby told her, okay, you try to move it back. And she couldn't. She could not move it. Which, and in my mind, she's like trying to, okay, well, it's only moving because he's jumping around and stuff. But he didn't start jumping around until after it moved. So how did that make any sense to her? I don't get how that really made any sense to her. Do you? Do you get it? I don't. Something else that happened at the fire museum, after bingo, these girls wanted to kind of go in and investigate, and Bobby was like, yeah, sure. He gave them the EVP, they were investigating, and he said, well, I'm gonna go get us drinks, like pop, while you investigate. And when he came back, the one lady had turned off the box. And when he asked her why, he said that her dad's full name came through, and then the words, I love you. Which I think is so sweet, and turns out her dad died when she was only 2 years old in a car crash, so she never really got to know him. But he found a way to come through and connect with her and let her know that he's still there and he loves her. So a lot of psychics come in and visit this place, and many psychics have talked to a chief there, and he died in a fire back in, I want to say, the 40s, and a lot of them have talked to him. And then another spirit that multiple psychics have talked to is called Donnie. This psychic came in and he was talking, and it was in the hallway of the downtown Mansfield, North Main Street, the historic one. And he was asking what the name was. So he was like, does your name start with A, B, C, or D? And he had dowsing rods. When he got to D, they went to yes. So he just started listing off random names, and he got to Donnie, and they went to yes. And what he found out is that Donnie is a young guy who worked at a drugstore somewhere, and they have these benches in the replica drugstore, and he's attached to those, apparently, that's what they think, because that's where he would go and sit on his breaks with his girlfriend. And I think that's why he's there. And he's only like 16 years old, he's super young, and they believe that he's there. And they've gotten EVPs from Donnie, and a lot of psychics have talked to Donnie as well. Okay, I went ahead and did my lower lash line just because that took me longer than I thought it would. Another EVP they heard while in the fire museum was by a ghost hunting group. He didn't know the name, I didn't really look it up. But they had hunted, they left, and they called him a few days later, and they said, we want you to hear this. And clear as day, they heard a voice say, get out now. And Bobby says it's the only time that's ever happened. It was one of the first times they investigated the place. So that's probably why they probably were just like, what's happening? Like, get out. So like I said, I went there on a tour. I didn't even do an investigation. We just toured the place, then we kind of talked about the paranormal. I was there for 2 hours. In those 2 hours, I had so many experiences. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had quite a few. I didn't tell Bobby all of these because I kind of was afraid he'd think I was crazy. But the first thing I experienced was after the tour was over, he was going around turning off the lights just so he didn't have to go back in and turn them off again. So I was standing in the front entrance area, and I kept seeing something out of the corner of my eye, but I thought it might just be my hair, which I can take down at this point. Okay, we're back. I took my hair out of that god-awful headband and messed it up again. But he had turned off lights in this room, and I kept seeing things out of the corner of my eye. And in this room, there were 2 fire trucks. And one of the fire trucks was from all the way in 1916. And we were in the front entrance, and he was like, will you stay here? I'm going to turn off the rest of the lights. So I was in this room alone, and I kept seeing something out of the corner of my eye, and I thought it was like my hair, and I would keep brushing my hair away, and it was still there. So I looked, and I see a figure, like a head and shoulders, dart back from behind this fire truck from 1916. And I freaked out, and then I saw it twice, and I was like, oh, and I looked away real quick, because I was like, no, I did not just see that. And I saw something out of the corner of my eye, so I looked back again, and it was the same thing. And that, I was there alone, and I was like, oh no. And we were the only people in the building. It was just me and Bobby. It was so, and he was in like an opposite, like he was over here, and it was over here, and I was right here. I was terrified when I saw that. And then I went into the office, and we were looking at the security cameras, and he said that sometimes you'll see figures and orbs and stuff in the security cameras. And there was a camera facing the gift shop into the offices. And in the office, I see an orb. And I've never seen an orb like on a camera, me personally see it, just from other people's pictures and stuff. And I know this was an orb because, now let me tell you why. It all of a sudden just appeared like in the center of the screen. It didn't just fly into screen. It appeared in the center of the screen. And so this is the center, and it went right here and then disappeared. It didn't fly out of screen. It appeared in the center of the screen and then flew right here and then disappeared. It didn't fly into screen anywhere. And I don't know how, maybe it could be a bug, but it didn't fly into screen. It did not fly out of screen. It appeared and then disappeared, and I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Yes, I'm doing another red lip. Don't hate. me and Bobby also saw a shadow figure in the building. Let me put this on and I'll tell you about it. When I tell you that was hard to put on, and it's still not perfect, so don't look too close. Don't look. So yeah, me and Bobby saw an apparition in the hallway that is the replica of downtown Mansfield Main Street. It was a big black figure. We could head, shoulders, everything, and it was black. You couldn't even see through it. And it was rounding the corner of the hallway when we saw it. And when I tell you, I freaked out. So then we went into the bingo room. He was telling me some stories there, and as soon as we walk in, I see a shadow on the wall. And then when I move and I kind of was looking at it, it like moved and disappeared. So I thought it was my shadow, and again, I never told Bobby this. He probably thinks I'm absolutely insane. Because I started moving like this, and I see that my shadow is on the wall, and I can see my shadow. And how it was like, here's the wall, then it indents, comes back out, and there's the wall. My shadow was on the wall. The shadow I saw was on the indent. And there was no mirror, there was no windows in this room, there was nothing. And then it moved in a direction that I didn't move. We also kept hearing footsteps and banging in the museum. He didn't move or budge, and it might have been something that was explainable. I never mentioned it because I was just kind of like, I didn't want to seem like I was freaked out or anything, but I was. But we heard a lot of banging and bumping in the night and footsteps. In the museum, we were in the bingo hall, and there was no one else in the museum there. It was just us. And it freaked me out every time. It was really loud, too. It would be like a loud bang, and then you hear footsteps. And he didn't flinch, but I sure did. It made me jump every time. Okay, to make this red look even messier, I added a red gloss on top of a red lipstick. And the last thing that I saw, after we're in the bingo hall, we walked into his office again, just to see if we could see anything on the security cameras before I left. And in the security camera, I see another shadow person. That's like 4 in just like an hour. So how I saw it, there's this replica like stable where the firemen would keep the horses that would pull the truck. And then there was this little window in the wall that led into the replica chief's office. And there were no actual windows in the building. There was just this fake window that led into the office. And I see a shadow run across that window in the chief's office. And when my heart dropped, and I was like, did you see that? Did you see that? And he was like, no, see what? He didn't see it, he was talking to me, so he wasn't looking at the camera. And I was like, there was a shadow. I saw a shadow. And he was like, well, no, I didn't see it, but I believe you. Like, it happens all the time here. It freaked me out to see that. And then I left. and then I left. So in a short hour, I experienced, I want to say like 4 things. I saw 4 shadow people and then an orb, so 5 things. That place is so active to have that much happen in just a short amount of time. So that is it for this video. But before we go, I want to say, if anyone is interested in doing a ghost hunt, comment down below or get a hold of me on my Instagram, Snapchat, and let me know, because then I could set it up and we could go actually investigate this place, which I think would be really interesting. I could even make it a video on here if you want to. I think it'd be really cool to go investigate this, and it's free. Did I mention that it's free to investigate? So let me know, comment down below, get a hold of me if you want to go investigate this place, and I might be able to get that set up. And we could even do it around Halloween to be like a spooky, like Halloween special thingy. I think that'd be cool. So let me know if you're interested in doing that. And that is the end of this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you've ever been to the Mansfield Fire Museum and you have any experiences, let me know down below. I love to hear that stuff. I will leave the links to the articles that I found. I will leave Bobby's email down below in case you want to get a hold of him. I will leave the link down below for the previous video where we talked about the Mansfield Women's Club if you want to go watch that. And of course, like always, I will leave a link down below of all the products I use on this face with the prices in case you're interested in using them, buying them, if you're just curious as to what I use to make this ugly look. I don't think it's actually ugly. Yes, I've done 3 red lips and I only have 5 videos out. Deal with it. That's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I wish my hair was better. I love you all. Thank you for the constant support and for watching and subscribing. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.